Welcome to another Monday at the Daily Neitz, a daily look at classic films, modern cinema, and the world of professional wrestling. And today I want to talk about the 1977 Best Picture, Annie Hall. Now, a few months ago I looked at the Woody Allen film Manhattan. If you saw that video, thank you for your interjection, Peanut Gallery. If you saw that video, you know that we are not a huge fan of the Woody Allen here in the Neitz household. And I mean, a lot of that went into my thoughts of Annie Hall. And it's impossible to separate Woody Allen from his movies. He writes them, he directs them, he stars in them. And I'm not a huge fan of a lot of his work. I don't think he's a very good actor, mostly because he just plays himself in every movie. You can change the name of the character, but that doesn't change the fact that you're just watching Woody Allen be Woody Allen in a Woody Allen movie. I don't like his writing either. His character, Alvy, in this film doesn't learn anything. He doesn't change. At the end, when they break up, it's like, oh, maybe he's going to change his ways and, you know, accept that he did something wrong. But no, he goes and he writes a play and he rewrites their breakup. And he makes it a makeup scene in this play, and it's very blatant and really obnoxious. He has to be right. There's another scene where he's waiting in line for a movie, and the guy behind him, who looks like a taller version of him, is talking about his opinions on Fellini, and he's just complaining about hearing somebody's opinions being yelled in his ear, when the whole movie is Woody Allen yelling his opinions in your ear. Now, it may be, like, tongue-in-cheek, and he may, like, be trying to point out that, like, yeah, this is, like, kind of, like, lampshaded, but it doesn't come off that way. It just comes off as him being a blatant hypocrite, but he's not apologetic about it at all, and that really bothers me. The positive, I do have to say, I do have some positives about this. I did like it better than Manhattan. As a director, he makes some really interesting choices. I liked the scene when they first are talking, and they're talking about photography, but there's subtitles about what they're thinking. I like that convention. That's an interesting convention. I've seen it done before, but I think Woody Allen did it first here. And it's interesting, and it's not overdone, and it's a breath of fresh air. I like the bit when they're on the airplane, and they're going back and forth just thinking. And you hear what they're thinking, but you don't necessarily see it in their faces. Like, I like that kind of thing. The bit where her soul leaves her body when they're having sex is fine. Like, bits like that, and addressing the fourth wall, breaking the fourth wall, narrating directly to the camera, like, that's fine. I have nothing against that, and when done well, and he does some of those well in this movie, like, it's great. It's just so hard to separate my bias from his films, and that's because there's so much of him in there. Case in point, it's impossible to talk about him without the child molestation allegations. I had to say allegations because the courts say he didn't do it, but whether or not he did, and whether or not there's substantial evidence of it in the actual trials or hearings or what have you, in this movie from '77, which is 20 years before that, there are some really sketchy things. The opening scene where baby Woody Allen kisses that girl in class and the teacher scolds him for it, and then it cuts around and adult Woody Allen is sitting in the desk. That's really, makes me really uneasy. And then he asks, like, oh, I wonder what these kids did when they grew up. And like, oh, I was on heroin. I run a plumbing company. And then the one girl that talks says, I'm into leather. The 6-year-old girl says something incredibly adult and sexual directly to camera. That makes me really uneasy knowing about these allegations. And then, like, my big problem with Manhattan was it glorified that he was, you know, sleeping with an underage woman. In this movie, he's not, and we got through so much of the movie, and he's with Annie Hall, who's of an appropriate age, played by Diane Keaton, and she is great. And there's none of that, and I'm like, okay, this is good. And then he goes to jail, and his buddy picks him up, and he's like, man, you interrupted me. I had twins, and they were 16. Like, come on! You don't have to have this in every one of your movies. It makes it look really bad when people start accusing you of these things later in life. It doesn't look good, and it makes me uneasy that this is the hero, this is the protagonist, this is the guy that the film wants us to root for, played by the writer and director of the film, is in these relationships, in these situations. It just makes me really uncomfortable. I understand at the time why it may have won Best Picture over something like Star Wars, which was also nominated that same year. but does not hold up. Like, maybe that stuff was okay in the 70s. It's not cool now, and I don't think we should still be praising this movie with that kind of material and with the reputation that Woody has now. Clearly, I'm not a fan. I understand, but not for me, not for this era. That is the rant I have on Annie Hall. Tomorrow I'm going to look at some Monday Night Raw tomorrow night. But until then, you can like, share, and subscribe. You can leave a comment in the comment section below, and you can also follow me on Twitter @DailyNeitz. And until tomorrow, bye.